At first, adaptation felt temporary. I think that's the simplest way that I can explain it. When my vision started changing more over time, most of my focus became, how do I adjust? How do I keep functioning? How do I work around this? So things like accessibility settings, using a white cane, relying on other transportations, in my mind, those were adaptations, adjustments, things that would help me continue living life normally. But over time, I started realizing something. Some of these changes weren't temporary anymore. They were becoming part of my everyday life. And when something changes gradually, there usually isn't one defining moment where you suddenly become a different person. It's quieter than that. Certain assumptions you had about yourself just slowly start shifting over time. The way you move through unfamiliar spaces, the amount of energy certain situations take, the way you think about the future. For a long time, I viewed adaptation as something separate from me. But lately, I'm not so sure anymore. Hey friends, I'm John and I'm from New York City. I have a progressive eye condition called retinitis pigmentosa, which affects and reduces my vision over time. I think for most of my life, I've always been someone who naturally moves towards solving problems. I like structure, I like planning, and I like improving things. Whether it's at work, relationships, projects, or even everyday life, I've always enjoyed taking something complicated and figuring out how to move through it, how to make it better, how to make it work. I think a big part of my identity has always been tied as being dependable, following through, being organized, being someone people can rely on. And even beyond other people, I've had this internal drive to do things well. Not really for approval, I just genuinely care about giving my full effort to the things that matter to me. So naturally, as my vision started to change more over time, I approached adaptation the same way I approach everything else, like a problem to solve, a system to figure out. And I think for a long time, that mindset actually helped me a lot. But I also don't think I realized yet just how much adaptation would eventually start changing the way I experienced and saw myself too. A lot of early adaptations in my life were things I framed more as adjustments, things that would help me continue functioning. Accessibility settings on my phone and computer, using high contrast mode, learning ways to navigate technology, even transportation. I talked about this in a previous video, but I cannot drive anymore. So now I rely on other forms of transportation, whether that's friends and family helping me get around, or using New York City's accessorized paratransit system, and even using a white cane when walking around. At first, I think mentally, I viewed all of these things as temporary workarounds. Not temporary in the sense that things will go back to the way they were, more like these were just tools helping me continue being the same version of myself. Like, this is just how I function now. This is just how I adapt. And honestly, I think that mindset helped me for a long time. Because instead of getting emotionally stuck every time something changed, my instinct usually was, okay, what's the next step? What system do I need? How do I continue moving forward? But over time, these adaptations stopped feeling like isolated adjustments. Asking for help became more normal, and planning ahead became more necessary. Even socially, I started realizing that I needed certain things from other people that most people normally never think about. Like if I'm hanging out with friends and someone gets up from the table quietly or walks back into the room without saying anything, there's a good chance that I might not realize who's there. So now, something as simple as someone saying, "Hey John, it's me, David," actually makes a huge difference for me. And moments like that started happening more and more. Not dramatically, just gradually becoming part of everyday life. And I think what I didn't fully understand at the time was just how much mental energy adaptation would require. Because a lot of these adjustments weren't just physical, they were cognitive too. There's this constant tension to see, and I think that's something that's really hard to explain unless you're experiencing it yourself. And that's because I still have usable vision. So in many situations, my brain is constantly trying to use whatever visual information it can get. But at the same time, the visual information just isn't enough. So there's this balancing act happening all the time. I'm trying to see, I'm trying to process, I'm trying to understand what's around me, while also relying on my other senses and other forms of information at the same time. And over time, I realized how exhausting that could actually be, especially in unfamiliar and changing environments. New places, different lighting, unexpected situations. There's anticipation happening constantly in the background. Even something seemingly simple like eating at a fast food restaurant becomes different for me. I remember one time a staff member guided me to a table and brought my tray of food over. And almost immediately, the first thing I asked was, where is the trash receptacle? Not because I was ready to leave, but because mentally, I was already trying to solve the next step before I even started eating. Because once I finished the meal, I didn't want to suddenly be stuck trying to figure out where to go next. I wanted to already have the layout mapped out in my head. And I think moments like that made me realize how much anticipation had become part of the way I move through life. Even socially too. A lot of energy can go into trying to understand who's around me, what's happening in the environment, whether someone entered or left the space, or whether I'm recognizing someone correctly. And over time, I had to regulate the uncertainty that comes with that. Not eliminate it, just learn how to live alongside it a little better. Because uncertainty stopped being an occasional experience. It slowly became part of everyday life too. And I think over time, all of that started affecting something deeper too. The way I think about capability. Because for most of my life, competence felt very connected to independence. Being able to handle things on my own, being reliable, being someone who could move through complicated situations and figure things out. And I still think a lot of that is true about me, but I think what started changing was my relationship to how those things looked. One obvious example is driving. Giving up driving was hard for me, not just because I liked driving, but because driving represented independence. It represented movement, flexibility, freedom. And for a while, part of me viewed losing that as losing capability too. But over time, I realized those weren't exactly the same thing. But even after giving up driving, I still had to figure out how to move through life. I still had places to go, responsibilities, relationships, work. So independence didn't completely disappear. It just started looking different than I originally imagined. And I think that realization started expanding into other parts of my life too. What does competence actually mean now? Is it doing everything the exact same way I used to? Or is it being able to adapt well to changing circumstances? I hate giving up. That part of me honestly hasn't changed much at all. I still want to follow through. I still want to move forward. But I'm also slowly learning that sometimes adaptation isn't the opposite of capability. Sometimes adaptation is part of capability too. And I think that's been difficult for me at times because there's still this tension of wondering what my 100% even means now. Because my 100% today may not look like 100% years from now. But that doesn't necessarily mean I stopped trying. It just means the conditions around my life are continuing to change too. Somewhere along the way, I also started realizing that adaptation wasn't only changing the present. It was slowly changing the way I imagined the future too. A few years ago during therapy, my mental health counselor introduced me to the idea of anticipatory grief. At first, I didn't fully understand what that meant. But over time, I started realizing that what I was experiencing wasn't just frustration or stress. Part of it was grief too. Not just grieving changes that had already happened, but grieving the uncertainty of changes that may still happen later. Because with progressive vision loss, adaptation doesn't usually happen one time. It keeps happening. Life changes, your environment changes, your capability changes. And then you adapt again. And for a long time, I didn't fully realize how much of the emotional weight came from constantly reevaluating the assumptions I had about the future. Assumptions about what my life would look like, how I would move through the world, what certain things would feel like years from now. And I don't think I had language for that before. I just knew something felt emotionally heavy in a way I couldn't fully explain yet. And I think understanding that helped me to realize that grief isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's quieter than that. Sometimes it just slowly looks like adjusting to a future that keeps changing shape over time. At the same time, I don't think this experience has completely changed who I am either. And I think that took me a while to realize too. Because even though a lot of things around my life have changed, the core parts of me still feel very recognizable. I still have ambition. I still want to build new things, improve things, learn new things. I still enjoy planning. And honestly, planning may even be more deeply integrated into my life now than it used to be. Not just because I like structure, but because planning helps me to move through the world with confidence and clarity. I still care deeply about following through, being dependable, giving my full effort to the things that matter to me. And I think even my curiosity hasn't really changed either. I still love understanding how things work, the process behind things, the systems underneath things. Whether that's technology, business, content creation, or everyday life, I naturally move towards wanting to understand and improve things. And my faith has become a much deeper source of grounding for me through all of this. Not in a way where I suddenly have all the answers now, but in a way where I am secure as a child of God, even while parts of my life continues changing. And I think that's been important because for a while, I subconsciously viewed change as evidence that I was becoming less like myself. But now, I'm starting to realize something more complicated than that. I still feel like me, but being me looks different now. I spent a long time viewing adaptation as something separate from me, something I was doing to continue living life normally. But now, I think I'm starting to slowly realize that adaptation doesn't only change how you move through the world. Sometimes, it slowly changes the way you understand yourself too. Not all at once, not dramatically, just gradually. And maybe that's why this experience has been difficult to fully explain at times. Because I don't think I became a completely different person. But I also don't think I'm becoming the exact person I originally imagined either. I think I'm still learning how to hold both of those things at the same time. And honestly, I'm still figuring out what that means. Thanks for journeying with me into the blind spot. I'll see you in the next one.